Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and let's make some games. So, in the last week in this tower defense series, I wrote some code so that towers can no longer be placed on top of each other, and towers can no longer be placed inside things such as trees and rocks. And today we're going to be doing some extra jobs related to that, which I did not get around to before, and would like to eventually. And that includes everything in this list. When you delete something in the editor, it should be removed from the collision grid. If you try to build a tower inside somewhere where you can't build a tower, it should give you some visual indication and some other things. Let's start with the first one. So, unfortunately, when you delete an object, it's not as simple as removing its collision information is not as simple as doing the reverse of this, of calculating the cells that it would occupy with its footprint and then setting those cells to unfilled, because there could be other trees or whatever which are also partially taking up that space. Since trees are allowed to be placed on top of each other, it's just towers that are not. That provides some annoying challenges. There are some ways you could do this if this was not a simple DS grid with a true-false value indicating whether or not it was free. You might do something such as putting a DS list inside each of these cells and adding and removing entities from the DS list. That would make adding stuff to the grid more annoying, and it would make removing stuff from the grid less annoying. That is not what I want to do for this collision system. So instead, I'm kind of going to take the nuclear option and say that whenever you exit edit mode, you're just going to erase the collision grid and reform it and recreate it. So where is editor? Okay, tab. This is where you go to and from edit mode. So if gameplay mode is equal to actual gameplay mode, that means you have exited editor mode. And that is where you will account for any changes that were made while you were in edit mode. And if I can find the load map function, because that's kind of relevant here. Actually, you know what? Just DS grid clear. I was looking to copy and paste the values, but you know what? It's just a single line of code. It's not really worth copying and pasting versus just writing out from scratch. This will be grid collision free. Then we're going to loop over all of the entities in the game. And we are going to run their add to collision code again. Like this. The one exception to this would be things like bullets, which may be on the screen when you're playing the game, and which you may not want. I should have in the last video overridden the add collision function for bullets for situations like this with an empty method, so that you don't actually do anything there. You don't actually add the bullets to the collision grid, because that would be a big mess and that would have some annoying consequences later on down the line. There's also the matter of when you sell a tower. Although when you sell a tower, you can just simply simply DS grid set region to the free value, because there cannot be any other things taking up space as the tower. There cannot be any other things taking up the same space as the tower, I meant to say. So that's fine. So to test this, let's go into edit mode and look at the collision grid. That's fine. Now I'm going to delete a bunch of things. Let's just click on rocks and flowers and delete them. I will not be saving this. I just want to see if a gap opens up in the map anywhere. Let me go. I added a watermelon. Let me go through this. And if I go back to gameplay mode, the collision information should be reset, and we see there is indeed a big old gap in the map now, which is what I want. Okay, that is the change I will commit. This function here, where was it? Oh, for God's sake. Oh, okay, this is not actually its own function. I will make this its own function so that it can be called in other places if necessary. Functional. I always transpose the I's and the O's in words that have an I and an O. I do it for collision a lot too. This is going to be a function that can be called in other places where it may be needed. I can think of a few that may come up in later on in the series, but that'll do for now. So I can remove this from the to-do list. Next, indicating to the player that you can't build in a location. Okay, you know what? I'm going to deal with the color macros first because these are annoying me, and I really would like this to be cleared up. So first, I'm going to go figure out what these actual colors are. That is green. So this is what it should look like. This is going to be one color. This is going to be one value for each of these situations where these are used. Where these are used is mostly in setting the shaders. When you set a shader uniform for a color, it has to take a vector 4 of 3 values. Vector 4 of 3 values. A vector 4 of 4 values, which all have a range of 0 to 1, whereas a game maker color is going to be a number from 0 to 16,777,215. If I got that number wrong, I look like an idiot, and if I got that number right, I look like a nerd. So anyway, there's a little bit of mismatch between the values that have to go into a shader set uniform and the actual color values. Fortunately, we have the ability, and I don't know why I didn't think of this when I first did this, we have the ability to do things such as create scripts. I'm just going to call the shader set uniform color. And it's going to take a shader uniform. It's going to mirror, or actually was this? It's going to mirror this function, except instead of you having to do the work to get the proper color values, it'll do it for you. So let's see, this should be, it'll take 3 parameters, the shader, the uniform, and the color. Actually, no, it'll just take the uniform. And it'll look something like shader set uniform color, which I have spelled with a U in some places and without the U in other places, and I honestly don't really care at this point because just pick one. English-speaking world, God. I prefer color without the U because it's fewer letters to accomplish the same thing, and it's more efficient use of the alphabet, but Yo-Yo Games is a company from Great Britain, and their spelling of color has a U. So that's often what I use in GML just to make it look like everything else. See. Phantom Tower. Okay, so the way that this actually works is there are a couple functions, color get red, color get blue, and color get green. I'm going to use those. If you know how the color values are stored, you could do some bit twiddling. If you want, you could say shader set uniform F, the uniform, and the red value would, for example, be color and 0 by FF. And then since it has to be a range of 0 to 1, it would be divided by 255. Again, I've said on many times, I don't want this code to be totally incomprehensible, so instead of dealing with bit twiddling, we're just going to be saying color get red divided by 255. Green will be color get green divided by 255. Thank you. And blue will be color get blue divided by 255. And the alpha value is going to be 1. Maybe you might want to pass that as a parameter to this function, but generally when you're setting a color value in a shader like this, you want the alpha to be 1. Not always, but often. Okay, this looks a lot better than whatever was there before. I also need to go back to the macros file and search and destroy all of the other ones. Shader set uniform color, like this. That good? That's good. Tower hover. Let me just do this quickly. You don't need to hear me narrate this. That's all of them. All right, much better. Again, not sure why I didn't think to do this earlier. Anyway, the game should work the same as before, just with much less spaghetti running around. Flashing white. If I were to actually put that somewhere else. No, much better. If I were to mouse over you, you'd be flashing green. I feel like that's a different green than before. Did I, oh, C green is not really the green that is line. C lime is what I'm looking for. C underscore green is something like 127 green value instead of 255. And C lime is the more vibrant version. All right. Am I not able to build here? That's odd. I have to look more closely at this. Is that incorrect? Is there something there that shouldn't be there? Anyway, if I were to go into edit mode and what is the one that will let me edit the F2 path nodes? Yeah, those are gonna flash to different colors also. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Indicating to the player that you can't build in a location should be the next easiest task. Where is... Okay. Let me think about this for a minute. So spawn tower. Spawn tower is here. Where is this called from? This is called from... Okay, so player tower spawn. In the same way that I moved this function out of this code block over here in the last video, so that I could make use of it with collision free. I'm going to again move it to somewhere else. Player tower spawn is currently a variable that stores a reference to a tower type, which is one of these, which is the template objects. Why is array create? Oh. Might as well initialize that to 0 so that 1, it's actually got a value, and 2, so that IntelliSense stops yelling at me. Let's see, where was I? Player tower spawn. Instead of... Okay, I guess that's done in creation code. I was not expecting that. Instead of setting this to exactly the template tower types, I'm going to set this to an instance of a new one of those. There's no real reason why this has to be a one of the tower templates, like the database entries that contain a tower. It can be a tower. It can be an instantiated tower. And I guess I might as well grab the whole line, copy, and paste it elsewhere. Also, I can make the grid size. I'll at least make it 16, if not 32. I can do that in these as well. Since the instantiated towers contain the same information about their template class in a variable, so if you need to get that information, you can just say spawn tower type dot class dot whatever instead of just class dot whatever. All right, now where this is actually used shouldn't be anywhere aside from this actual code file, so that's makes the number of things that I have to track down lower. And let's see, what is the variable called? It is just dot class. Okay, we'll go with that. So if player money is greater than or equal to player tower spawn dot cost, we can change that to class dot cost. Player money minus equals player tower spawn dot class dot cost. And then when you're done with that, set it to undefined. And dot class dot model. This just has to contain a value, that's fine. Anywhere else? I think that's it. Okay, so instead of... So this is where the phantom tower, as I like to call it, is drawn. This here is not the actual tower entity being rendered. This is just a copy of its model being rendered in the correct place. To get to whether or not you're allowed to build it here, I can say var can build is equal to get, no, what is it? Collision free, I think, and then it'll take the tower that you're spawning at that location, and then you can say if can build draw it with the one color, else draw it with another color, and that other color can be let's make it red. Would that be an issue, red-green? I like to avoid red and green as a color scheme for obvious reasons. That color scheme tends to cause issues for people with color deficiencies. Can I make it black instead? Alright, black and white should be sufficiently different. For that matter, white and red should also be sufficiently different from each other so that you can at least see the difference in contrast. I'll do that. It's not like the default color is lime and the unavailable color is red. All right, so if you can build, go with the regular color, and if you can't build, go with unavailable. So if you like ternary operators, which I do, you can say shader set uniform color can build question mark that, otherwise the unavailable color. The eternal struggle between making my code readable and making it like less than 5 lines long when I could just use 1 line. I've talked about conditional ternary operators on many occasions in the past, so I think I'll go with that. I've made videos on it. That's kind of my cutoff for whether or not a certain sort of code is fair game in this series, is whether or not I've done a video on it before. I'll go with the conditional operator here. I'm pretty sure I've used the conditional operator in other places as well. Since this variable is only used once, you could also just say that, but that's getting into a... That makes the line of code a little bit long and starts to... We won't be doing that. Okay. There's something I feel like I need to do. Oh, yes. There's one more thing I do need to do when I spawn a tower. So if I go back into rm_test, where these are spawned, this won't work. Position is not a thing that exists here. That was one of the temporary variables. I will spawn the towers at 0, 0, 0 and position them before they're drawn. Let's see, creation code. Zero, 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 and here as well. Like that. And then in the code, in the update, they will be drawn. They will be repositioned. So here, if position exists. Okay, so back here, player tower spawn. If this has a value, I will be positioning it, and if it doesn't, I won't be. Where is the floor intersect gotten? It's not in render, right? This should not be. Okay, in the name of separating game logic and draw logic, we will be saying player tower spawn dot position dot x and player tower spawn dot position dot y. the actual floor intersect itself isn't really needed in the render method anymore as much as it would be in gameplay. Let's see. Let's minimize this big, enormous section of debug code, editor stuff. There we go, of editor code. Get floor intersect. Okay, I'll move that here. Var floor intersect equals camera dot get floor intersect, and if what was that? Oh, I copied that line. If whatever the tower is over here contains a value. Hang on, let's okay, you know what? Let me separate these two sections of code a little bit so that they're not like getting in each other's way. Floor intersect is going to be where the mouse intersects the floor. If player tower spawn has a value, and the mouse actually intersects the floor. That should be an and. Then player tower spawn position is going to be set to the floor intersects position. Okay. I know what I want to do here. Getting the words out of my mouth in the correct order was surprisingly challenging. If this is not the case, if the player moves the mouse like over the sky or something like that, then the spawn tower will just stay where it is. I could like set the tower's position to undefined or something, and then up here when you actually spawn the tower, when you click, if the tower's position is undefined, then you would detect that you're not like within the range of the map, and then just not do anything. If I was doing this on my own, I'd probably do that because it would be a little bit less code that has to run, and it would be like less code that I have to write, more importantly. But that would make this code a nightmare to follow, and I don't want that to be the case, so we'll just be leaving this as it is. Getting the floor intersect more than once isn't really a problem. It's not a hugely expensive function or anything like that. It's not like it'll slow down the game if you call it twice instead of once. There's also the matter of building towers outside the bounds of the map, which I believe you can still do. Alright, first, I haven't run the game in a while. I should do that to make sure that you can actually, this is actually doing what I want it to. And it is not. I can still build that there. Why is, Oh, okay. Those variables were never updated. Alright, let's see if this at least works, even if the visual does not. Oh, it does. Okay. So when I am trying to build the tower over a tree or something, it's turning red, and when I'm trying to build the tower, interesting. I'm not allowed to build it there. Why would that be? Okay, I know why. The collision box has never updated its position. Is there a reposition method? There is a reposition method. Okay, I should probably call the reposition method. I'll give this to tower. Okay. This was a lot less problematic than I thought it was going to be. I'll just give the tower a reposition method and call that. Okay. What are the bounds of the towers? Eventually I will give these things proper bounding boxes. It is 16, 16, and 64 are the dimensions of this thing. Alright, so minus that, minus that. Height doesn't really matter, that's just a matter of the raycasts. Okay, over here, I will call reposition. There. Looks like it should be good. Oh, it takes an X, a Y, and a Z. Not a vector. Like that. That should be good. That's also less code than I had before. That makes me happy. Alright, let's tile stones are taking up a little bit more space than they really should, but otherwise it looks like everything's good. The flowers are also taking up like the same amount of space as the tree, which is a little bit dumb. And I can get them about this close before I can't build. Okay, that's good. That is more or less what I want. That was more annoying than I thought it was going to be, but still not bad. And I can cross this off. Path nodes to the collision grid. That shouldn't be too bad either. Okay, so when let's also get rid of all those extra new lines. When a path node is created, if I were to go back, there is a list of path nodes, right? Okay, it's an array of path nodes. Okay, let's give this the same treatment. Let's these are not really entities, and these will never be these don't have the same constraints as entities. It's not like I'll ever create a path node that isn't part of the actual path. That doesn't really make sense, or it makes less sense than it would for an enemy anyway, for a entity. So I'm going to just borrow the add collision code and do pretty much the same thing. Oh, repositioning stuff too. Oh no, never mind. That would be taken care of by the same code that handles the deletion of environment entities and stuff. Let's see. Waves. Path node is down here. No method. Again, as I said, this doesn't really need to be a method. Xmin and Xmax, there is a collision box, but there is no scale. And since the only place the collision information about the path node is set is here, as well as potential future reposition functions, which I have not implemented yet, I can get away with a lot less of this than before. So it can just be really, I can really get rid of all that, since those values are only used once and they're now very short, so you can really just inline them here. Okay. Diascrid set region filled. Oh, hang on. I will make this a method. And some of you may be thinking ahead as to why I would do that, but I will call it immediately in the constructor. And the reason that it will be a method is because I will actually want to call that in more than one place. Specifically here, when the reset collision data function is called. So this will be, what, path nodes? Like that. And we're going to iterate over the path nodes array. And let's see. If you delete a node, does it completely remove it from the array too, or does it just set it to undefined? It just sets it to undefined, so I will need to check that there is actually a path node in that slot in the array. So path nodes of I dot add collision. Okay, so that should update them if the collision data ever needs to be updated. If I can go into edit mode, hit F11, and it has become even more cluttered than before. We are getting about 20 frames per second with this overlay open, and that's fine because it's just debug stuff. This unfortunately low frame rate for the comparatively little amount of gameplay going on here. Again, I will do a lot of optimization for this in the future, but that future point is not now. So if I were to go back into edit mode, and this is edit mode, and what is it, F2? Oh no! Alright, this is a crash. Let's see if I can reproduce that. Alright, first we will copy this error message to a text file. I have a notepad window open here, I'll just do this here. First we will copy that to a text file and see if I can reproduce that. If that's part of the code that I just changed, I don't think it will be. I didn't change anything about the path nodes themselves other than drawing stuff. It does appear to be. Alright, well, let's make a commit. Or it may have been this may be a crash caused by some code I wrote several commits ago. Who knows? The error is line 176. Tower.raycast, tower.collision is not set before reading it. That should be, I didn't do anything here. Is this what I think it is? There is an undefined value there. Okay. And why is that? Oh, get under cursor. Hang on, hang on. I know how to read stack traces. Get under cursor path nodes. It told me undefined. And we should already be checking to see if that's not undefined. Although that was just the name of the data type, and not the data itself. That's a 0. Okay, so I am show debug messaging the array of path nodes, and for some reason it is suddenly initialized to 0. And I do not know why. The only place where this is really being assigned to is when you click to create a new path node, when you delete one, and then you set the array, the last element to undefined instead of 0. And when you load the map file, and I don't know why. Let's see. No, come on. Hey. It's like control. If I hit the control key instead of the shift key or some other key, it'll automatically jump to the end. And that is incredibly annoying. Because as we've already established, my fingers are the size of like something that's really big, and I cannot help but to hit multiple keys at the same time. Oh, okay. I see why it's doing that. It's because something is not set before reading it. I just now noticed that there was another error being printed in the console down there. What is that that's not being set before reading it? Oh, add collision is being called before it's actually been defined. Yes. All right. The order that code is written screwing me over. Once again, that's better. So what is it? F11. If I were to create a new path node and like add a big blob of them over here, that should show up over here, and you can see there is again, the collision grid is very messy because the cells that are currently being filled are like imprecise. Another blob has appeared. That's good at least. Okay, I can commit that change. That took far longer to track down than I really wanted it to. Last order of business is, I can get rid of this. Last order of business is to mark objects as not added to the collision grid. Do I want to put this off another video? I really don't. I really don't want to put this off any further. This is going to come down to this load model. Is load model called from anywhere else? Aside from here, it is not. All right, let's make a struct. Let's make ourselves a new struct. I can put this in the database, and I'll call it like function model data. And we can say self.name equals name, self.vbuff equals vbuff, vbug. And we can then, all right, first things first, I will wrap this in one of the things, new model data. Its name is just going to be its file name, which is going to be this probably, and its vbuff is going to be that. Anywhere where this is used, many places. All right, this is going to be some fairly significant refactoring, I think. So when you instantiate an environment entity, you give it a vertex buffer, which is just like the tree model or whatever. I'm going to, this is going to be model or mesh or whatever you want to call it. And then when you actually draw that, okay. I feel like there should be more of these. Like this. Class.model. .vbuff. Alright. Well, any place that is just submitting a regular vertex buffer, I think I can safely get rid of this this commented out floor intersect, by the way, because that hasn't been used in a while. Anywhere that's submitting a vertex buffer, this is a long chain of dot operators. Anywhere that is submitting a vertex buffer needs to make sure it's actually submitting a vertex buffer and not the struct, or what is now a struct anyway. For example, what is exactly this vbuff? This is entity environment. I want model.vbuff. That's good. This is in bullet, which has already been updated. This is in faux tower. Base model. What is base model? Base model is the class.model, and that is now a struct, model data struct, which has a vertex buffer. This looks like faux because I saw a die method. This is a faux. This also has a base model, I think. Oh no, it doesn't seem to. Class.model.vbuff. And the last one is the test ball, which is not really needed anymore, but who cares? Oh no, wait, yeah, that's needed. That's a path node. I thought that was the test ball that was being drawn on the floor. Okay. Let's run the game and send in a wave just to make sure that everything's being drawn correctly still. Nope. Oh, new model data. Did I not mark that as a constructor? There we go. Now it's a constructor. Alright, so the world as a whole renders correctly. Let's build a tower. That's not going to work. This is line 497. I have a feeling I know where that is. I did not mean that. Thank you. Control G, 497. Really? Control G, 497. I don't know what I was putting in before. Unable to find it in oh, okay, so there's more. These. Should I just have load model return a vbuff? I don't know if I'll have load model itself return one, but yes, I will. Okay. Load model can now, instead of just returning a vertex buffer, file name? Yeah, I'll just make the name the file name. Okay, let's try that. Maybe it would be better to use a constructor here, but result is nan. Oh, that's because of the 2 remaining load models. Where are they? Test ball. Do I really care about the rest of the struct? Not really. For the test ball, the skybox, do I really care about the skybox for the... do I really care about the, like the vertex buffer metadata for the test ball or the skybox? Not really. Okay, that's better. We can build this, we can do that, we can plop it down, we can plop another one down, we can send in a wave, or go into edit mode. And the bullets are bullet data. Bullet data takes a one of those same things that I've been fighting with for the last 10 minutes. Okay, try that again. Tower, another tower, just because it looks cooler when there's multiples. And they're now shooting. Okay, much better. So, just to make sure everything is rendering correctly. Yep, there we go. I can plop something like that down. F12 moves? What is the key that moves it around? I can't remember how to make these move. It's one of the function keys. F12. Alright, that's all working correctly. This makes it much easier to do things. For one, metadata about the models, I can now keep track of things like their size. And by extension, their bounding boxes. And I can also give them information such as should they be given collision information or not, which is somewhat important. So let's commit this change. Probably should have done that from the beginning, but here we are. And lastly, when you actually create one of these, we will be having a bounding box. Which is going to be made of some points, and let's figure those out. X, Y, Z minimum and maximums. So we can loop over the vertex buffer. We can do that by first turning this into a regular buffer. Buffer create from vertex buffer, and that can be vbuff. The type is going to be fixed, and the alignment is going to be 1. Although I think I can make the alignment 4, and it'll be fine. The vertex format, just to make sure that I know what I'm doing here, is going to be position, normal, text, coordinate, color. Okay. So that is going to be 36 bytes per vertex. Where's the database? That is going to be 36 bytes per vertex. And we can loop over this. I is equal to 0. I is less than buffer get size. I plus, not I plus plus, but I plus equals 36. Because if you add these up, 4 bytes for an XYZ, 4 bytes for an X normal, Y normal, Z normal, 4 bytes for a horizontal and vertical text coordinate, and 4 bytes for color. That comes up to 36. Let's say var vertex X is going to equal... Okay, for those of you who have never iterated over a vertex buffer before, the stuff that's inside this data buffer, which you get when you say buffer create from vertex buffer, is all of the stuff that was added to the vertex buffer. So in this case, for example, the floor, if you turn this into a regular buffer, you would have a 32-bit floating point value for the X coordinate, a 32-bit floating point value for the Y coordinate, another one for the Z. you'd have a 32-bit floating point number for the x component of the normal, you'd have another one for the y, you'd have another one for the z, and it would just go in order. Each vertex is 36 bytes. In this case, if you have a different vertex format, it may be different, but the standard position, normal, text coordinate, and color is 36 bytes. So if you go over the buffer in a for loop over here and increment the iterator by 36, the iterator each time around will be at the start of each vertex in succession as stored inside the buffer. I've made a number of videos on both buffers and vertex buffers in the past, including what exactly is contained within them. I recommend watching them if you're working with vertex buffers in 3D because they're helpful to know. This will come up again when I do optimization things. Okay. So with that said, var vertex x is going to be equal to, let's say, buffer peak. The data buffer, the offset is going to be the loop counter I, and the type is going to be a 32-bit floating point value. Same for the y and the z, except the y position is going to be 4 past the iterator value in the buffer, because the iterator itself is the x position, a 3-dimensional position. There is x, then the next value is y, and then the next value is z. This is the position of all of the vertices. To compare them to the minimum and maximum, we can simply say x min is equal to the minimum of vertex x, and the current x min, y min, is going to be, I'm just going to copy and paste y, and z. And we're going to do something very similar for the max. So the x max is going to be the maximum value of the vertexes x and the current x max, and y and z, and so on and so forth. In case this kind of depends on the minimum x being negative and the maximum x being positive, because I initialize them to 0. So that that's not the case, let's initialize the x minimum to something arbitrarily high, and the I don't know where that extra equal sign came from. The maximum to something arbitrarily low. And anyway, once we finish this operation, this is going to be the minimum and maximum values of the model, and we can. Do I even want to put that in a vertex buffer in a bounding box? Yes, I do, because that'll make it easier to work with. New vector 3 of x min, y min, z min. New vector 3 x max, y max, and z max. Okay. Do we want to print those out? Let's print those out. Just so that we can see what they look like. And that is going. That took a long time to load. Alright, that's another optimization to be done, because we are doing extra processing on each vertex buffer as it's loaded in now, which is not super fast, especially when you have a lot of vertices. Anyway, it looks like the P2 is printed out first, because of however GameMaker hashes these things, and it looks like these values are correct. Okay, that's good. Don't have to print those out anymore. Instead, I will commit calculating the exact bounding box of each of these things. And now we can just use that. When it comes to adding things to the collision grid, and I should probably just here. What I wanted to do, and I can't remember if I did this in the last video or in the failed take of the last video, we can say the footprint area is going to be... Actually, hang on. This should be a property of the model and not the entity. So back in database, we can say collidable or something like that. No, that looks too similar to collision, and I may mix them up when I'm typing occasionally. We'll say solid. That's a built-in game maker variable, but it's fair game for structs. It feels really weird to be using a variable called solid again. We can say x min minus x max times y times y min minus y max, and we want the absolute value of that. Actually, that'll be positive to begin with, won't it? We can say solid will be true if this is greater than... What's a good arbitrary area for a smallest thing that's allowed to be added to the collision grid? I will not do that yet because I haven't actually done anything with this. So entities. Our entities themselves don't have a model. This is kind of like OOP hell at this point, but we're going to initialize solid to true. Add collision, only do this if solid is true. And self.solid is going to equal model.solid. That's an environment entity, so that'll take care of flowers and stuff. And bullets, self.solid is false. And I think that's it. Towers are automatically solid because, for obvious reasons. Foes are not solid, but they're also not added to the collision system. Why are they being added to the collision system? That should not be the case. Get that out of there. That'll cause problems. Or it'll be unnecessary processing anyway, since the ground that they walk on should already be added to the collision system. Let's see. Tower reposition. I think that's everything. We are looking at the solidness of each of those things. This is not the most graceful code I've ever put in a video that I post on the internet. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. I wanted F11. It looks like, hang on, you know what, just since I can't make that out by eye, if that's doing what I want it to, let's show debug message with a name and with the solid data. I see most things are. Flowers are. Okay, so I really need to look at the let's open up the data files and see how big those actually are. All right, this video is going on much longer than I want, but I really want this to be finished in this video and not to have a third video on collision. Aside from like finishing touches. All right, this is a size of about 15 by 13, which is, you know what? We'll say you are solid if the area is greater than 256, greater than or equal to it, because I think there are a few objects that are like 16 by 16 exactly. All right, that should be good, right? All right, all the flowers are no longer on there, which is mainly what I want. We'll go with that. If the tile stones being solid isn't the biggest of my concerns. Those are mostly there for decoration, but they're going to be the path anyway. They're going to be on the path anyway, which is going to be solid all the same. I'm going to end this off here. I really need to stop talking, go get something to drink, go make some food because it's starting to get a little late. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. If you want the code for this, look in the video description. Look for the 0.22 release because that will be this week, week 22. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there will be links to that around. Otherwise, I try to post about 2 of these a week, 1 of these and 1 tutorial. I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Edward Holt, Indie Punch, Jason, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want your name in the credits or to hear yourself shouted out at the end, Head over to the Patreon page in the video description to join the fun.